restart.
So this year, Filme Shilmy has been very privileged to have spoken with some fantastic, upcoming, fresh, established talents who are now being discovered. And another one joining that panel is, of course, Medha Shankar, who's giving her first UK exclusive to us. Medha, firstly, a huge congratulations on a fantastic year, especially now
Thank
that
you.
12th Fail is actually streaming on Disney Plus Hotstar as well. I mean, it's been getting a lot of traction.
Yeah, thank you so much, Anuj. It's absolutely my honor to be talking to you. I've seen your work before, and I'm so glad we're doing this. And yes, like you said, now it's streaming on Hotstar, so there's another wave of love coming in from everywhere. So I'm really happy.
Absolutely, and so you should be. I mean, look, so 12th Fail, for those who have not seen the film, it's based on Manoj Kumar Sharma. It's about a man who fought extreme poverty to become an IPS officer, and
Mm.
it's such an inspiring film. It's a Vidhu Vinod Chopra film, and as I was mentioning to you before we began our interview, for me, it's almost VV Caesar revisiting sort of his roots as a storyteller, where
Yeah.
he's gone back to really authentic, gritty earthy storytelling. For you to come on board for this, what was the process like? Did you have to audition a lot for it?
Of course, because it's Vidhu sir, you don't get into his work without auditioning. It was a very democratic process. So apart from Vikrant, I think everybody auditioned. And so similarly, I was called by a casting agency. Then I auditioned with them. And then I got a call from them saying Vidhu sir wants to screen test you personally. So then I went to his office and with the entire team, including Vikrant, I gave my screen test. And then I was told that there will be more screen tests. And I was very jokingly, sir told me that for Parinita, we took 26 tests of Vidya Balan.
Oh wow.
And yeah, and so I said, sir, you take 26,000 tests if you want, I'm ready. Because in my head, it was like, if Vidya Balan had to give 26 tests, I'm ready, like take how many ever you want. But luckily, after a couple of months, there was another screen test that they did. And then within a week, they told me that I'm part of the film.
Sure. I mean, I have to say I loved your presence in the film. Even though of course you were of course playing the love interest of Manoj Kumar Sharma, but yet there was so much to your character that was not just reduced to that. You were
Yeah,
supportive, you were battling emotions of your own, you had your own ambitions. So for you
yeah.
to really get into the skin of this character, because obviously you're not you don't come from a huge lineage, you don't come from a big family. So for you to really get into that skin of the character, how much personal reference points were drawn for you in playing this role?
It's very surreal because every time I met Shraddha ma'am in person, because Vidusa made it a point that you have to, even before I was logged for the film, but I'd already screen tested, sir had asked me to meet Shraddha ma'am as many times as I wanted. So every time I would meet her and we would speak, we would realize that we're very similar people, like our worldview, our perspective on life, our character, we're very similar people. So I think personally, I do relate to Shraddha's character deeply. Her definition of love, of how it is like in our generation, it's very different. The modern love relationship, it's very different. But I am very old school like that. So her definition of love is exactly what mine is. That you hold each other's hands and you don't give up on each other and you win together, right? And you win big. So I really related to her character in many, many ways. But of course, speaking to her at length and taking notes and then speaking to Vidhu sir and then creating my own character arc, character sketch of Shraddha for me. So there was a whole process. There was a lot of prep of months to bring that character to life. There's a lot of Shraddha in it. There's a lot of Medha in it. So that's the character that you see on screen.
Sure. Now, I think what I really found very beautiful to watch is the camera shots, that
Yeah.
producer uses, whether it is the wide shots, and I think the sort of yellow grading that he has in the
Mm.
film, which are quite pretty much his style of storytelling, even if we watch Parinda. When you are working with such brilliance, technical brilliance, and storytelling excellence, how does that really motivate you as an artist? To what extent did those technical aspects actually determine how to perform as well certain sequences?
Okay, so I'll tell you something that Vidhu sir is very particular about certain things. That he keeps telling you that as an actor, you focus on acting. You're not supposed to be very aware of the 10 other things that are happening when a shot is being taken. And I personally, as an actor, that's how I like to operate too, because I know the technicality of it, but that's not my expertise. That's the camera person's expertise. Direction is the director's expertise. My expertise is as an actor. So I absolutely focus on that, on the scene, on the emotion, and I'm aware what's going on. I'm aware that it's a camera like held, what do you call it? Held shot, and
Mm.
it's a long shot. All those shots I know, everything as an actor that I need to know, I'm aware of that.
Mm.
But I don't obsess over it. Like I'm not like it's always at the back of my mind, never at the forefront. At the forefront is always my acting. At the back of my mind, it's just okay. This is that shot. It's a wide shot. It's this shot. This is a long shot. But I don't particularly focus on that so much.
Sure.
But like you said, there are such beautiful scenes, such beautiful camera work. I remember the first time I saw the first half of the edited version of it. I remember I messaged Ranga sir and Vidhu sir saying that such beautiful shots you have taken. There's like a long shot where the camera is moving and they've not stabilized it to add effect to the scene. So all of that happened.
Sure. I want to talk about one particular scene, and I'm not going to say which position or where it comes in the film because I'm sure there's people who still haven't seen the
Yeah.
movie and I want them to enjoy the experience. But I have to talk about it because it's such a beautiful scene. And the highlight of the entire film for me is, of course, the scene where Vikrant is in a crowd and he is in tears of joy.
Yeah.
And the way you come running and the way people just surround that whole sequence was just so poetically shot. I watched that scene and it reminded me of a film called Nayak, by Satyajit Ray. I'm not sure if you've seen
Okay.
that film, but the way the sequence in one of the most pivotal sequences in that is when the main actor who is playing an actor comes out and there's fans running to him. He's trying to look for Sharmila Tagore and
Oh.
he sort of goes more distance. But here obviously it's not you're not going distance, but it's that whole
Mm.
crowd coming
Yeah.
together, the emotions coming at play here. What was it like for you to shoot that scene? Because I think it was so beautiful and it really brings out the spirit of human grit, you know?
Uh, I'm so happy you brought brought that up because it's personally my favorite scenes too. And I truly feel that the reason that this scene has moved so many people so deeply is because we weren't really acting in that scene. I really feel that because by the time that scene had ended, Vikrant, I, Anshuman, Anant, we all were crying. We were really crying.
Mm.
So, because, and that scene was choreographed in a way that it's all real students around us. They're not actors, they're all real students around us. Yeah, Vidhu sir made it a point that in all the scenes where you see students, they're all real students who are IS aspirants, UPSC aspirants. So, it's that whole vibe of seeing the result and knowing this man's struggle that I love so much. And it also resonated with my own struggle. Like you said, I don't come from film background. I've had my own share of struggles as an actor when I came to Bombay, so I resonated with that a lot. Vikrant resonated with that a lot. So collectively that scene transcended acting. It
Mm.
transcended the script, and we really did feel those emotions, and I feel that is the reason why it has resonated so deeply with people. Like everybody, by that scene, everyone is in tears. Whoever is watching, everyone is in tears.
I bawled. Honestly, I saw that scene and do you know why also? And I think it's because everyone, especially this year, in 2023, I think has been a year of growth. I mean, for me at least. And I feel like somehow everyone watching that through Vikrant's journey and what he goes
Mm,
through in the film, it's almost like वो अपनी कहानी उसमें ढूंढ रहे हैं. और जब वो
correct.
चीज हासिल होती है या नहीं हासिल होती, I mean, that's the film's
Mm,
journey, but it almost feels like as if it's trying to really resonate with a lot of
yes.
sheer dedication and efforts that people have gone through. How many takes did that scene take, by the way?
I don't remember. I don't really remember, but not many. I don't think any scenes required many takes, to be
Right.
honest.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. It's the actually this uh, the scene that the two of us come together and the group comes, yeah, not many takes. Yeah. I
Oh,
don't remember any scene being shot like having like many takes.
hmm. I have to say, Vidusa is phenomenal in choosing the actors he does, the female leads for his films. I think it's honestly like there's something very special. Like I feel like because he's obviously a Kashmiri Pandit, so I don't know, maybe I could be wrong, but it almost feels like he looks up for a very Kashmiri looking type face. I think in all of his films, if you look at Shabana and Kareeb, look at Sadia in Shikara, who was excellent. Now yourself is almost this sort of pristine, sort of very soothing presence that he looks out for in all his actresses. I mean, obviously, I'm just highlighting this point because I would love to know again. When you were selected for the role, what did he actually clarify as to why he selected you, and what was it that really appealed to him about you?
Uh, yes, of course. So I remember when I first screen tested with Sir, it was a long screen test, and I also knew that there were other screen tests lined up of other actresses the same day. Yeah, uh, so I screen tested, and I came in with a lot of this thing that okay, no pressure. This is a big deal. Okay, fine, but we'll do it. And I had improvised in that scene. There was a long paragraph that I'd written and improvised in the scene. I did a lot of improvisation in that screen test. And Sir liked everything because as an actor, when you improvise, it's always a risk. It can either fly through the roof or it can, it can pull you down. So luckily for me, Sir really liked it, and Sir said, "Listen, you do it again in the next take. Also, we want another shot of this. This is very good." So I felt more confident. And there were two scenes that we did, and the second scene was a very emotionally intense scene. And by the time that ended, I Sir had already told me we'll do a photo shoot with you for sure. And that Vidya Balan thing, he told me that we'll do more screen tests with you and then we'll let you know. And I said, okay, sir, sure. But I'll tell you personally, I could tell that Sir is very happy. Because if you know Vidhu sir, I feel is a very transparent person. If he's happy, you can see it on his face, no matter how much he's trying to hide it. If he's angry, you can see it on his face. So for some reason, even though I was meeting Vidhu sir for the first time that day, in fact, the entire team, I could just read the room and feel that, I feel everyone's happy with what I've done. And I left for my house. And this is a very funny thing I'll tell you. This was 9th of February when the screen test happened. And I came back home and my dad opened the door and he said, Kaisa raha? And I said, Dad, I'm doing this film. I had tears in my eyes and I said, Dad, I'm doing this film. And he said, they've told you already. And I said, no, I'm telling you. It was such a divine moment for me because for some reason I just felt very strongly that this film it's in my destiny. This is mine, and that's a personal thing. But Vidhu sir told me even later that the second scene, the emotionally intense scene that I did in the screen test, is practically the reason I got the part.
Right.
Because I he really liked what I did with the second emotionally intense scene, and he time and again told me that this is the scene तूने छक्का मार दिया है, अब तू film में यही कर दे वापस से, just you have to do the same thing. And that particular scene, and he's also told me that he always told me that he was looking for a girl uh, who has honesty on her face. That's also something he mentioned, that it was important for him to cast a girl because he always said that Shraddha achhi ladki hai. So he wanted a girl for some reason who exuded maybe honesty or serenity. I don't know, but yeah, that those are two things that he told me.
You bring a very how do I say, a breath of fresh air. I think in the current sort of landscape of actors that we're seeing, I feel like a lot of times where, uh, I mean, I would like to think it's changing now, but for a point in time, it was quite heavily about being someone who was a great influencer. It almost felt like people were casting based on the amount of followers you have on Instagram and on social media. I
Yeah,
mean, I've heard stories off the
yeah,
record, of course, about such
yes.
incidents happening. For you, Medha, though, look, I mean, this obviously, I mean, you've done work before in this industry. You've done a lot of short films, if I'm not mistaken,
Uh, yeah, I've done web series,
and web
and
series as
yeah,
well, correct?
yeah.
So you've done a lot of stuff on the web, you've done a lot of shorts, but to get something like this, without having any heavy PR, without having any kind of Instagram influence per se, uh, Do you feel what sort of confidence does this give you? And do you kind of sometimes feel maybe a little bit intimidated with the sort of landscape that sort of entertainment has become nowadays?
Um, so I'll tell you, I think I had 16,000 followers when I got the part,
Hmm.
which is nothing, which is literally nothing on Instagram. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I've always been this person. I'll tell you an anecdote. I was auditioning for an ad, and this is back in
Hmm.
2018 or 2019. And I'm auditioning for an ad, and this person after the audition, he said, Ki, in your introduction, also tell me how many Instagram followers you have. And I was like, if you're judging me based on how many followers I have, I don't want to do this ad. You judge me on the basis of my acting,
Hmm.
because if that's the criteria, I'm walking out of this. And I walked out of that audition.
Well done.
Yeah, because I've always been this. I understand the numbers are important and all of those things, but I was always the person. I wanted my work to be there first, and then the following should follow, and not the other way around. Not that it's wrong, it's great if it's working for other people, which it is, right?
Yeah.
But I always was very, very certain this is the route I want to bring out, like put out great work, and then following should happen.
Hmm.
So when I got this part, even then I was very confident. Like I said, I have walked out of auditions where they asked me for my Instagram followers. So I was very confident in what I bring to the table as an actor. With utmost humility, I say this, but I was very confident with what I bring to the table as an actor and as a person. And I wanted to do films and work with directors and producers who value that over the other things, you
Hmm.
know. So, but yes, I do understand that this is equally important now. So, but I always wanted to start like this and then focus on the social media. So now I will focus on social media. I will, put out more content, which I haven't done in the past. So I will work on that also. But yes, the integrity of an artist I will maintain.
Honestly, I'm in a pretty similar position as you, believe it or not, because I feel like, once you're doing things as you do, even though like, as journalists, we have to kind of use social media to our advantage and to really
Yeah.
push ourselves. It's quite an interesting challenge learning the algorithm on social media.
Yeah.
Like it's an art of its own. I think
Yes.
respect to everyone who obviously has done really well with it.
Absolutely.
It's not
That's
easy.
what, because it's not easy at all. It's very difficult to put out singing videos every week, to write your own stuff and make comedy and put out that content. So I was like, I am not willing to put so much hard work into this. I can't do it. I would rather use that time to hone my skills as an actor, because that's what my priorities are. Because
Hmm.
I know a lot of influencer friends. I have a lot of influencer friends, and I know how bloody hard these girls work.
Hmm.
So let me respect to them. But yeah, I always knew that this is where my strengths lie. So I'll stick to this.
Sure. As you mentioned, it's not been easy. For 1/12 film, I'm sure there must be hundreds of stories of setbacks and failures and all of that. And honestly, I don't want to make it into a sob story anymore because I know how difficult it really is. And I think
Yeah,
eventually, that'll be a story which you will share in your own time as
yeah.
well. But I think what would be very inspiring, I think, for others watching this interview is maybe when an artist does not get the work or does not achieve perhaps the goal that they wish to, how does one cope with that and deal with that at that point in time? Because देखो आप जब आप काम कर ही रहे हो तो पैसे बनाने ही पड़ेंगे. So when you have to take up roles for monetary purposes, how do you
Mm.
cope with that disappointment and those emotions at that point?
Anuj, it's very difficult, because I think when you're an outsider, especially when you come from a different city, you don't even know where auditions happen. Like the first few months are only to figure out, okay, what is Aramnagar? Okay, that's where you go and audition. For casting directors also, for the first year they're only calling you for ads. It takes them a while to realize, oh, she's a good actor, let's call her for web series. Oh, then it takes another month to figure out, for them to realize that, oh, let's call her for primary characters and leads. So it's a process, right? They don't believe in you just like that. It takes them a while. uh, so there are multiple rejections, like there are countless rejections, and I feel, what I've come to realize in the last 5 6 years that I've been in Bombay is that self-belief and perseverance are your only two best friends. Because I don't think anybody will believe in you. You're lucky even if your parents believe that you will be a great actor one day. So give all of that belief to yourself, and you have to do it every single day because self doubt will creep in with every rejection. So self belief is very important, and perseverance, because really in this industry, I think nothing is in your hand. The only thing that's a controllable as an aspiring actor is the 10-minute of audition time that you get. That's it. That's all you have. You have nothing else. So self belief and perseverance is something I would say has helped me a lot. And just cut out the noise. Don't listen to people. Half the people are saying the wrong things. They And also just work, be truthful to yourself. There are multiple things, like people have told me also things like, you should network, and you know making friends with people, and I'm like, okay, I'm not here to do that. I'm just not that person.
Hmm.
So I would like to tell people, just be who you are, and the right people will find you.
Hmm.
you know you don't have to do because x a thing worked for a person, you have to do the same thing. No, you be who you are,
Hmm.
and things will fall into place eventually.
Sure. And I think it's really ironic as well that you've done such a film, because I think even in real life, you seem to really have that hope and optimism that a lot of Vidhu Vinod
Absolutely.
Chopra films, in essence, have. There is always that sense of hope. Even in
Mm,
really like intense movies like Mission Kashmiri has that. I mean, 12th Fail is literally about hope.
yes.
Um, so would you say that, and faith has been a very important part of your life and
Yes.
has really
Yes.
helped you a lot, especially during hard moments?
Yes. Even today, this is just the beginning. With the kind of outpouring of love that I'm getting for this film, I'm very aware that this is just the beginning, right? So even today, I need that faith and that hope as much as I did 2 years ago or 6 years ago. So that faith in God, or whatever you call it, or your belief in yourself, it has to be like your grounding force every single day. So it's really helped me. And I would tell people that it will help you too. I mean, in
Mm.
whatever way, whether you get it from your family or yourself or your God, whatever it is, just hold on to that faith.
And I think for the longest amount of time, Hindi cinema was churning out some decent content, but at the same time, there's been content which we deep down know could have been better. And I feel like
Mm,
for the longest amount of time, certain movies have kind of not been as relatable. Of course,
mm,
produced Three Idiots many years back, which was again very relatable about the
yes.
education system. Then, of course,
Mm,
we have a stark contrast to which is Student of the Year, which is basically hardly about studying. So I mean, we've seen these two different sort of shades of cinema come up, is what I'm trying to say. And even if we look at Zoya Akhtar's films, they've often had this very whole stories about the elite class, where it's been very difficult for ordinary working class citizens to actually relate with that. However, this month itself on the OTT platform, we've obviously have 12th Fail, and then you had Kho Gaye Hum Kahan, which again talks
mm.
about friendships. It talks about so many it talks about aspirations, hope in society, things which are very palatable for ordinary people who don't have these extraordinary lives and bank balances. Do you think there is now a homecoming of Indian cinema because we're seeing stories that are more rooted and authentic?
I do believe that relatability is a big factor at play. When I watch a film, and if it's an underdog film, or it's about the struggles, financial or otherwise, I do relate to it more. There are more masses that relate to that more. And I do think that relatability factor is at play here, even commercially, because people are realizing the more such content that you make, the more audiences it has. So I would love to do more such work, which I relate to more. But I also feel that films, like you said, like Zoya Akhtar, Zindagi Na Milegi Dobara, even though I don't instantly relate to that world, I do feel that it's aspiring. Like, I think there are two sets of uh, films that are being made. One is aspiring. It's like you aspire to go there, you aspire to go to Spain with your friends, for a holiday and do all of those things. And then there's a 12th Fail or some other film like a Chichore that's very relatable
Yeah,
to the masses. So I think they're both very different segments of filmmaking, and I think they're both equally good.
yeah.
And as a viewer, I love watching both. Even Student of the Year, for that matter, I feel, of course, I don't relate to it that much, but it's fun to watch.
It's
It's
fun.
like, oh,
Yeah.
really, does this really happen in a school? I mean, what's going on? But it's fun to watch.
it's escapist cinema, which is great. We need it.
It is. Yes, we do need it at times. Yes.
It's true, and I think also I also realize, we don't talk about mental health in men enough. I think especially in India,
Mm.
and I think especially in Indian cinema. Like, for the longest amount of time, we've always seen this really machoism and heroism a
Mm.
lot. But I think 2023 has been a year which has really embraced vulnerability in men and in the sort of representation of male characters. I mean, 12th Fail, I think, is a perfect example of that as well. Uh, do you feel like this is a great step towards changing the narrative about
Mm.
gender stereotypes that has been ongoing for many, many years?
Absolutely. I think mental health, this conversation around mental health has picked up, especially I would say after 2020, because that year just brought everyone to the ground, right?
Yeah.
And it's so relevant, especially like you said, for men. I mean, it's important for them to cry like once in a while, guys. It's okay. Like we know there's a lot of responsibility, but just relax. Because with women, I would say it's equally hard on them. But I think they have a better understanding of how to release that emotion, whether by talking to people. I think men, they really don't do that often, which they need to. And that conversation around it, it's very important. I'm so glad it's happening. Like you said, in 12th fail, Manoj is crying, he's sobbing, he hugs people and he cries. When he's happy, he's crying. When he's sad, he's crying. When he's broken, he's crying. And that's the beauty of it. We want soft men, we want men who are in touch with their emotions. Because guys, take it easy. I mean, don't be so hard on yourself. And I'm really, really happy that the conversation around mental health has picked up and everyone's talking about it and everyone's coming out with their own stories, and they are okay embracing vulnerability.
Absolutely. Very well articulated there. Okay, so on a final note, 2023 is wrapping up in literally
Yeah,
some time.
yeah.
What are your hopes for the future, and how have things changed with you after 12th Fail?
Things have massively changed. I mean, like I'm getting calls from big people appreciating my work, messages, audience love on Instagram and otherwise, and people are recognizing me in the streets now. So all of those fun things are happening. But my biggest hope would be that I do get the kind of work that I want. I have started to get some work, but I'm waiting for the right project. Like I'm being very, very careful with what I pick next. So I hope that I get to work with these incredible directors that I've always dreamed of working with, and with doing characters that resonate with me deeply. And yeah, my biggest hope for 2024 is to do great work that inspires me with incredibly talented directors and producers and actors, and give out great work for audiences to watch and love me for.
Beautiful. Right. I'm a bit curious. When you say the right work, what does that mean?
So see, when I say the right work, it's like I've been getting scripts. I've been getting people are up, they're very kind, such big directors are approaching and this, that. But it's like for me, it's very important when I read a script or when I see a character that I'm supposed to play, it has to resonate with me in a way, not that it has to be relatable. It's not that. It has to move something in me. It
Yeah.
has to have something to say. The girl can't, like you said, I'm not just like Shraddha is not just a love interest of Manoj. She has a personality of her own. She has a fragile presence but nerves of steel.
Hmm.
She's the strength behind his struggle. So something of that nature where the character is meaty enough for me to be interested in. So that's what I mean when I say the right film.
Well, good on you, Amida. I think that's wonderful. And I think I'm very excited to see more work from you. I think there's so many wonderful female talents that have really broken through the
Mm.
mainstream barrier. Like we had
Yes,
Trippi earlier in our Animal, who did
yes,
phenomenally. Now we've got you. There's been so many great, great talents this year. Smita Tambe in Joram. There's so many wonderful
yeah.
actors who have really flourished this year. And I think this is going to show that a new revolution is happening in Indian cinema, and we are all ready for it. And I think 12th Fail is such a treasured film, which I think honestly it better win a lot of awards next year because I'm very rooting for it. So fingers
How
crossed.
sweet. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. It was lovely chatting with you, Manoj. Thank you for having me.
Likewise, thank you so much, Medha, for taking the time out. It was so special, and what a great way to celebrate the year gone by with you. So thank you so much.
How sweet. Thank you. And Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year to you too. Thanks.